What's going on, everybody? It's your boy RPG, and today we are back with some different type of content. Since I made a life change with my living space, I have not put out any content other than music because these type of things take more time. But I've mulled around with the idea of doing a sort of tell-all update on where I've been, how I've been, how bad things got, why they got that way, how I began to change it, and how I turned everything around and where I'm at now and where I plan on going in the future. So I know there's a lot of people out there that have been confused as to where I've been or whatever, and I just wanted to kind of update. It's kind of a personal thing for those of you that don't really know me on a personal level and just consume the content. Um, this is a tale of mental health and substance abuse issues and seemingly, at least to this point, overcoming those. So even if you don't know me personally, we all either have gone through it or know someone who has gone through these things. So it's a feel good story. I don't want to make it too long. I'm going to try not to be winded and drag it out. I also do want to address where I stand as far as socializing and different little things that I have heard, little bits and pieces of information about things that were said or done in my absence. Uh, I'm not going to get super personal or detailed, but if there's any sort of backlash or negative feedback from this, then I will get incredibly detailed and personal, as I have plenty to tell about plenty of situations and people. So now that we have it mapped out, what to expect, before I begin, I'd like to say rest in peace to my stepdad, Butch, who passed away January 16th, 2024, after ongoing health struggles and, a bit of mental anguish as well. And I hope you're at peace, big dog. We love you, and we're going to keep moving forward. Now, our story begins Dingus Day 2017. I'm not going to go into my whole life and every plight and, my sister and all that type of shit. Uh, this day, though, is where my life changed. Um, so I would say from 2011 to this day, Dingus Day 2017, I was running around 5, 6 nights a week. Um, I was drunk 5, 6 nights a week. I drove my vehicle drunk more than I did sober. How I never got a DUI, I don't know. I mean, I've been so fucked up that I couldn't stay on my side of the road. Um, how I evaded a lot of violence. I'm not sure. I behaved very poorly in this time. I said a lot of things to a lot of people. I did a lot of things that I shouldn't have. I did things that I'm ashamed of, frankly. But enough time has passed to where I look back on it now and I go, okay, well, there's some people that may never speak to me again. There's some people that may never forgive me. And in a lot of instances, I understand that, but I am fortunate to be able to say that I haven't done anything so egregious to the point that I cannot forgive myself. So as time has moved on and we've given it space, and I've actively sought to be a productive, positive, decent person, I've begun to look at it as just it was a time that happened, but it's over, and that doesn't have to define who I am. So at this time, as I was saying, I'm drinking every day. The only time I'm not drinking is because I'm hungover from drinking. Um, there's a lot of cocaine flowing around. There's, dabs. There's this, there's that. There's syrup. There's pills. The night I got my face tattooed, I drank a half gallon and smoked dabs with my friend Casey, and also took Klonopins, and then I got my face tatted at 4:30 in the morning. But so that gives you, I'm 3, 4, 5 different places a night. Um, I'm everywhere from the projects to the white kid suburbs and just really living life on the edge. So, Dingus Day 2017, no different. I probably started drinking around 10 a.m., something like that. I had been with two different people early on. I was with Frank, and we hung out with some girls, and then I was with my friend Barbara, and I dropped her off. And then I was on to my aforementioned friend Casey's house around, I don't know, 8 p.m., something like that. And uh, my car, as I'm going to switch my song, I ran up on a curb and I struck a pole. Now, this car I had only had for roughly 6 or 7 days, about a week. I had just replaced my red Expedition. That, if you know me, we we had a lot of times in that. But this was a crossover vehicle, and I had just got it, and I didn't realize in buying the car that the lever that lets the seat back was malfunctioning, and so I was up very upright driving it as I hadn't got it fixed yet. And normally I'm a tall guy, big guy, so I normally have a lean on my seat. I struck this pole. How a vertical pole ended up going horizontally through my car, to this day I'm still not quite sure. Um, but my driver's side wheels were completely cocked in the air at an axis, and I had to crawl out of the passenger side downward. And had I had my normal lean on my seat, had that seat not been malfunctioning, that pole was running directly behind me and would have been probably at the angle that I was leaning at, and would have went through me and killed me. So I'd have died 6, 7 years ago, and that would have been 4 months after my sister died. So my mom would have lost both of her kids in 4 months, which would have been terrible. Um, so how I get away with this, I don't know. We're beyond statute of limitations at this point. I was intoxicated. Um, I didn't even have the title to the vehicle yet. I mean, it was legally purchased, but there was, some what's the word I want to use? The car lot wasn't necessarily on their P's and Q's and being professional, so they did not have the title yet. They did not breathalyze me anything. So I walk away from that fairly unscathed. I had a few scratches on my face. My arm was cut open, but that's about it. So that happens. I'm still trying to kick it a little bit. I end up starting to walk places to kick it because I was still so strung out on, human interaction, and thinking that um, was the best way to deal with what I was going through. Any of you that know me know that I've had mental health issues that popped up around 12, 13 years old. It started with depression, um, and then led into severe social anxiety that I discovered could be quelled with the use of alcohol. Um, and that started innocent enough, but then as you go through trauma after trauma and get mistreated, and you grow up in this city that I'm from that is prone to making people sick. I was sick for a long time. Um, you go through that, and I became more and more aggressive. I became more and more angry, and then the alcohol began to affect my behavior and things like that. But throughout this whole time, I had the rapper shit going, and I was the crazy rapper for a while and kind of fed into it, but it ended up going too far. And so at this time, I don't have a vehicle, and I start to realize, oh man, all these places that I was, night after night, they're not coming to pick me up now. They're not coming to my house. They could seem to give a fuck less, you know what I mean? And that's kind of where I first got the taste of, uh, wow, like there's people literally that as long as I facilitate it and I maintain contact, we can hang out 4 nights a week. But at the juncture where I pull back, I'll literally never hear from some of you again. And if I do hear from you, it's very seldom, and you usually want something or have some sort of problem, or your girlfriend slash boyfriend ain't around, and you don't know how to stand on your own. So you go from feeding off of the opposite sex to wanting to be around me all the time, and getting lost in substance abuse and things like that. So I begin to pull back from several people. I mean, there was a time I had probably 400 numbers in my phone. At any time, I had a rotation of about 15 to 20 people that I could go hang out with at, whenever I felt like. And I really dwindled that down. Um, and I began to really have some issues going on with the alcohol. It started to turn into something else. As you progress, it goes through phases and gets darker and more complex. And um, so I began having panic attacks as I would come off of alcohol. And at this time, this is the first juncture too, as I become more isolated, that I started drinking by myself, which is a whole new league at that point. Up until 2018 or so, if I drank by myself, it was like for an hour, just to pregame, and then I'll go hang out with people. But I started drinking more and more by myself. I'm like, well, hey, I cut the people out, but I still like to drink. Oh, this works, right? So I'm drinking by myself, and then I at this time I was slimmer because I was using exercise in an unhealthy way, working out 5 6 hours a day. Um, riding the bike 72 miles in one sitting at one point, um, things like that. And so I was slimmer, my metabolism was really fast, and I was still trying to drink like I was more heavy set, and I wouldn't get hungover, but I never would have thought that I would prefer being nauseous and vomiting, even vomiting blood, which I've done several times in my years of consumption, um, that I would prefer that over paranoia, not being able to sleep when you come off it. I'd be up for a couple of days, and every bad thing I had ever done was on my head in a loop, and I felt extreme guilt and just absolutely, I would go pace the neighborhood. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what was real at a point. After certain treacheries and betrayals that I've been through, I didn't trust anybody. I thought everybody was out to get me. Um, Being jumped by somebody that you considered one of your top 3 or 4 friends, that kind of really changes your perspective on people. My head's always on a swivel now, but I was so paranoid. I would drink to escape, and then be so paranoid that the only thing I knew to do was to drink again. And I go, oh, so this is how it happens. This is how people end up in a fucking alley talking to the wall, and on intervention and shit like this. This is my road to that right here. Um, so I struggled with that for a while. At this time is where I began to fall out with quote unquote friends. And, you know, part of it started with the distance, But and then my change in perspective also led to that. Also, people changing, um, people that I fucked with when they were at their absolute lowest, and then when they turn it around, they want to run around with everybody except the people that gave a fuck about them when nobody else did. Um, so just a lot of stuff. Everything wasn't bad at this time. My perspective on some things was unhealthy and irrational and not rooted in reality. My delusions about people being against me, some people actually were though. But everything in this time wasn't bad. I began to reevaluate my urge to be around others at all times. And I realized that this is pumped in your head and programmed in you from the time you even become a conscious being. By the time you're 3, 4 years old, they throw you with a bunch of strangers and say, figure it out, and teach you that being in these groups is normal and needed, you know? So I start falling out with people because for whatever reason, I've been the one that seems to tell the truth and have a need to live in reality. Um, and I've learned that it's not my place to tell people they're doing wrong or this or that all the time, particularly those that I don't know. But if you piss me off and I know you, then yeah, we're going to talk about it. So I just started cutting ties left and right. My paranoia and bad behavior made it very difficult for me to be on social media, particularly clicky, small minded, local Facebook type of social media. Just things where people are not being them genuine selves, and it's a lot of dick riding and witch hunting, and um, if you don't fuck with this class of people that we've deemed as the cool kids, then you're lame. You know what I mean? And I saw 10 years ago what it was gonna be, and slowly got away from it, and I've only been proven right over time. Um, but I'm not here to gloviate or anything like that or pontificate about people that have peaked in life. So I'm more and more isolated. I'm more and more angry. If you know me, you know my weight has fluctuated hundreds of pounds multiple times. I start to gain a lot of weight again as I'm not very active. I'm drinking all the time. Uh, like I said, I can drink a half gallon of vodka in a sitting. So that's 4,000 calories by itself. So you do the math if you're eating and other things. So um, I had a real negative experience with a female around this time that to this day I'm not really sure why that went the way it went. I know that my poor mental health was part of it, but I had never encountered someone who wanted to know me so bad and come with these overtly sexually forward messages and things like that. And then every time we were supposed to interact, they would not show up and things. So with my paranoia and things, I'm starting to think I'm being catfished. I also live in a very small schoolgirl sort of city that loves to gossip and talk, and so I'm hearing bits and pieces of this and that. Had I been in my right state of mind, I haven't tripped about anything like that since I was 17, but I was not, and it went poorly, and it's been a cause of confusion and fucking me pulling back even more. And but as I analyze it, I mean, that person and whoever they engaged with on a friendly level or a sexual level, they have all peaked in life as well and are just regular people destined to do regular things for the rest of their regular lives and, talk about what they're gonna do and never actually do it. So I found peace with that. Um, in this time, though, I have a friend named Zach who was going through similar issues, and he became the only person that I spoke to. We would talk on Xbox for hours and hours and hours, and uh, unfortunately, he ended up dying around Christmas Day 2020. And after that, that's when I really just completely fell off the map. You know, nothing that's been said to me or about me, positive or negative, on social media, I have not seen anything since 2019. I would get on, post my song, get off. I didn't read messages. I didn't look at friend requests, anything like that. I didn't look at comments, nothing. There's, promiscuous female rappers out here that wanted me to get on their song, making sexual advances along with saying, what do I have to do to get him on a song, asking a mutual friend. I offered to get on the song, ignoring their sexual advance, and they took that as a plight because I didn't want to fuck them like everybody else. Um, and we'll get into some things I've heard and shit later. But so my friend dies, I disappear, and it took until about 2022 for me to go, okay, I want to turn my life around. I had normalized being a loser. I didn't want anything at the time. I didn't care if I had money. I had wrapped myself up in the idea, okay, we need to take care of my dead sister's kids, particularly the youngest one who only has me and my mom now, but at the time, me, my mom, and my uh, aging, health failing stepfather. So I just wrapped myself up in that little role and drank and made my music, didn't talk to anybody. I didn't leave the house a year before COVID. I didn't leave during COVID. I didn't leave a year after COVID. If I left the house, it was to go to the liquor store. That's it. For 2, 3 years. I didn't have a job. I didn't have a car. I didn't talk to anybody. Um, all I did was rap, drink, eat, play video games, and watch porn. That's it. You know what I mean? So by this time, I've distanced myself from several people. Um, Almost actually everyone I'd ever known. Um, I began to reincorporate a bit in 2022. I found a job that is suitable for someone with the limitations that I have socially. And I have to say, up until this point, it's really turned my life around. I'm so thankful that I can work when I want, however much I want. I get paid every day, anywhere from on the low end 20 to I've made $50 an hour doing what I do. I've made $100 in 25 minutes. You know what I mean? Like it's been a blessing, and it gave me the money to be independent and also further pursue my passion and ultimate career goal of making music. And it's that has been the catalyst for turning my life around, wanting to be there for my niece who needs me, who's essentially like my daughter. Her mom is dead, and her dad is a serial bank robber who's in and out of prison. Not a very responsible guy. Uh, but yeah, my job of the time and my niece and getting away from bad people is what turned my life around. And I'd say for the past 18 months, I have been on the upswing. Um, and so, as I was away, I would do some targeted little things towards people in songs that I felt had wronged me or spoken appropriately out of turn. People whose craft I don't respect, whose work ethic I don't respect, whose place in society I don't respect. And I've heard little things here and there about, oh, someone said this or someone said that. There's a rapper locally, so I apologize to those that aren't from my area for this segment, but a rapper in their 40s that I have never met who supposedly was on my shit talking about the content is weird and da 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 da. And I sit back and look at how basic um, and just not thought out of an insult that is, and why someone would want to speak on someone they don't know that's probably over a decade younger than them. I don't know. But, I sit and go, okay, I'm not sure which particular piece it was, but around that time, let's say it's the one where I have a gif of, in my song, there's a gif video of a skeleton dressed in a tutu waving a wand, turning other people into skeletons. Like, do you think I posted that and used that and didn't know it was weird, you fucking retard? Like, of course it was weird. I was actively seeking to be weird and make people uncomfortable at that juncture, So it's just the insults don't really hold up. Like, I know how to behave in a normal fashion if I want to. I know how to lose weight when I want to. I've done it before. But when I say that y'all are lazy and fake and uh, you don't have any set of values, you remind me of animals with just your primal urges being the only thing that you seek to satisfy, sex and approval from people that don't know you like that or really don't give a fuck about you or your well-being. All of these things, when I say that that's y'all, that hits a lot different because that's inherent to who you are as a human being. And you can't change being stupid. You know what I mean? So then I heard something about somebody exposing me. I'm hard pressed to think of something that I haven't covered in a public fashion. I've done some very bizarre things in my day. I posted, and let me say this: if you don't know me and don't know these stories, and this is too much for you, and you don't want to fuck with me no more, that's fine. I don't want surface level shit around anyway. So, but I've done it. I've posted my dick on social media. I've said gay shit to make people uncomfortable. I've threatened to kill people. You know, just you name it. So yeah. Um, and when I say kill people, we're not talking about anyone specifically, but groups of people, stupid shit like that. Um, so I know I've behaved very poorly. Um, and as I said, I was sick. And I have a great deal of remorse for most of what I did. Not what I said to people who wronged me. I don't give a fuck about that. But I no longer seek to be mean spirited. I meet energy with the same energy. Um, and I'm better at what I do than anybody I ever met. I'm smarter than just about everyone I've ever met. And you see, once I gave a fuck, how quickly I turned my life around. I feel that there's some narrative that I'm just like held up in my mom's house, punching at the wall like Cuba Gooding Jr. and fucking Boys in the Hood. I'm doing better than I've ever done, and it's largely because I got away from the majority of you. Um, for whatever reason, around that time, my ability to deal with bullshit just got smaller and smaller. And I had normalized bullshit for so long, and shit would just roll off my back. And I got to a point, I want my young guys to understand that bullshit doesn't have to be part of your program. You know what I mean? Like, you can befriend people and then realize that they're not good for you, and you can remove yourself from the situation. And it's hard at first, it really is. Um, but these days, I'm alone a lot. But there's a difference between being alone and being lonely. Because I'm not lonely for the most part. The loneliest I ever felt was when I getting to a place where I no longer identified with 95% of my peers, but I still tried to be around them and do the things that we did 6, 7 years prior, and realizing that I had grown out of it and they hadn't. That's when I felt lonely. Now I'm alone, but I use my time a lot better. I'm productive. I'm not just a talker. I am a rapper that actually makes music. As I stated, I have a job that has helped me do a lot more. I help my mom as much as I can. I take care of my niece. I don't rely on nobody. I live alone, and I thoroughly enjoy being alone. Um, and in my absence, I really realized, I said, I realized that bad people are capable of doing good things. There's guys that have killed people and told me that they rape women that have gave me the shirt off their back, gave me $10 when I needed to go get a twist top plastic bottle of vodka. Um, but that doesn't change the fact that they're bad people, you know. My sister, was my best friend at the time, and that didn't change that she did so much that eventually you cross that path of being borderline a bad person. I'm sorry to say. So it cuts that deep. And so after everything I went through and realizing that every wolf ain't meant to run in a pack, you're either gonna fit in or stand out. That's just a fact. And those that so desperately search for community and to be part of the crowd will never truly be successful. Every successful person, for the most part, I've ever heard talk about friends say they have few or far in between. And I realize it's just there's a lot of really simple folks out there who are more easily entertained than me. Um, their every problem in life is fixed by one wave of a penis or vagina wand in their face, and the minute they have some dick or pussy in their face, depending on their preference, then life is just made whole. And how many surface level interactions can we have? Like, I'm not 17 years old anymore. I don't. My life has become, as my issues grew more complex, I realized my life had to become more simple, and I'm just now expanding again as I've corrected course and cut out basically everything that was bothering me. There's going to be another addition to that. But yeah, just simple people. They can't. People for the life of them can't grasp the concept that my life isn't made whole by a piece of pussy and a pocket full of money. You know what I mean? Um, and in my absence, man, I realized, I don't want to be around killers. I don't want to be around drug addicts. I don't want to be around prostitutes. I don't want to be around stripper bitches. I don't want to be around people that I don't hear from unless I call them. I don't want to be around people that fuck up opportunity after opportunity because they can't get out of their own way. You know, uh, I I just people are icing to a cake. They are not the entire meal, and I had to learn that. And this is the most sharing I've done in a while. I used to overshare to a degree, and then I become very isolated. So I thought it was time to just, give an update. Um, but yeah, like I don't have a tolerance for people that continually bother me and speak out of turn and are just talkers and bullshit their way through life. I'm not here to hold anybody's hand and tell them what they're doing is right if it's not. I'm not going to normalize being a piece of shit and a fuck up. I'm not going to normalize killing and overdosing and being a whore and all of these things. And as I said, I've been a bad guy at times. I've fucked up a lot. But if we could step away from narcissism and deflection for 1 second and look in the mirror, then that's when we begin to correct our own issues. So once I stopped pointing the finger and turning it around at myself, I said, okay, you got some work to do yourself there, fatty. You know what I mean? So, is the book completely written? No. Is there work to do still? Absolutely. But, you know, another thing, too, briefly, I struggle when people question my background or whatever, or the legitimacy of, you know, some of the things I may talk about, whether it be in conversation or music. And as far as street shit, like or rapping in general, let's start with that. If you haven't made more than 5 or 6 songs in your life, I don't need you to tell me how to rap. Um, if you are internet, I'm everybody's friend. I rap to fuck dumb white girls and impress strangers rapper. I don't value your opinion. I care about being the best. Nobody's ever seriously challenged me in any way because they can't, um, or they don't care about it. They're one of these guys that, oh, I got more money than you, and I've retained more friends from high school on my social media, so I get more likes, and I play the game. Like, I don't give a fuck about that. I want to be the best I can possibly be and make connections to actually make a living off of music, whether that be writing or being an actual performer while I'm still young enough. But yeah, don't, and as far as the street shit, man, um, if you've never discharged a firearm in public, don't tell me what I can rap about. Um, if you never had to stop motherfuckers from being killed, don't tell me what I can rap about. If you've never been in your friend's house that was shot up when you're 12 years old, don't tell me what I can talk about. If you ever been to a crib that was shot up and then went back the next day, don't tell me what I can talk about in my music. If your friend never called you at 14 and had your sister and you pick him up because he shot a crackhead in the stomach in the alley, don't tell me what I can talk about in my fucking music. Um, so, you know, there's just been a lot of opinions that are not rooted in anything real, um, and a lot of confusion, I think, as to where I've been and what was going on. Nobody ran me off. I just realized that my life and taking care of my niece and my mom is the most important thing in my life. And I grew more and more comfortable with cutting things out that bother me. So, shout out to people like Doug. Um, Shout out to like David Rose, what you've turned into. You have a kind of a similar story of struggles and then turning it around. Family guys, professionals, people that act their age. I don't want to be around guys my age that still want to act tough or sell drugs and shit like we're 19. Like I don't give a fuck about that shit. Like Zach was worth 1,000 of the people that I got away from, and I don't have to uh, drink at his gravesite with high school friends to show him that either. But yeah, that's about all I have to say. I think I said I wasn't gonna go long, and this is fucking 40 minutes. But that's what I've been up to. That's where I've been. If you do hear from me moving forward, it'll be business related or, you know, just an occasional hang maybe with people that don't bother me, people that don't speak out of turn, people that aren't delusional, um, people that don't constantly get in their own way, people that can show growth, people that remember who was around when shit was, the worst. I don't want to be preached to about uh, friendship or social status by somebody who's, been robbed of their every worldly possession by people that they lived with. You know what I mean? I don't need advice from people that have peaked in life at any capacity, nor am I going to chase people that don't reciprocate the interest or energy and don't have my best interests at heart or even their own. And I'm not going to try to uh, keep something alive that just isn't there anymore just because we know each other. And have been there and for each other and enjoyed each other's company. We can care about each other from a distance, no matter who it is, male, female. And the only relationships that I'm pressed to keep at this juncture are family. So outside of that, if you're a decent person, we can talk. Um, if you know your place, we can talk. Other than that, just you know, continue to do you. I'll do the same. With that being said, this is RPG, and stay tuned for more content. And make sure you like and subscribe. And until next time, peace.